What if surviving a narcissist doesn't make you smaller, but mythic? Because survival isn't the ending, it's the forge, the heat that burns off what was borrowed, the crucible that returns you to yourself, harder, clearer, stranger, in the best way. Let's set our lens right now. We are not calling an empath too sensitive. That's the lazy label people use when they've never had to scan a room like it's weather. An empath is someone trained by chaos to read microstorms, the tilt of a jaw, the hush before the door clicks, the smile that never reaches the eyes. It's pattern recognition wired by necessity. It's radar. Maybe you've carried someone else's shadow and mistook the weight for love. Maybe you learned to predict the shift before it slammed into you. You thought that was your personality. It wasn't. It was survival tech, refined in noise, honed in secrets, paid for in sleep you didn't get, and boundaries you couldn't hold. Here's the promise. By the end of this, you won't just know how you got here. You'll know who you become after you shoulder another's darkness and live. Not a saint, not a shell, something rarer. The version of you that can feel deeply without dissolving. The one who doesn't confuse compassion with self-erasure. The one who can look at a mask and see the seam. Empathy isn't softness, it's survival tech. It starts early, in rooms where the weather changes without warning. You learn to scan a face the way sailors read a sky. Jawline, pupils, cadence. It's not a gift yet. It's a shield you built because guessing right kept the house quiet. In that chaos, roles flip. The child becomes the regulator. You soothe a parent's storms. You learn to steady other people's breathing before you know how to steady your own. Emotions get managed outside, not inside. Your nervous system gets the memo. Monitor the room, ignore the chest. Mirroring becomes currency. Reflect their mood, and you buy a little safety. Reflect their pride, and you buy approval. You get good at it. Brilliant, actually, a chameleon with a conscience, but there's a price. The more time you spend reflecting, the less time you spend existing. Your attention becomes a searchlight. Inner signals flicker. This is how boundaries blur. Without a word, you feel everything, but you struggle to feel yourself. Who I am quietly swaps places with what you need me to be. It's not performance, it's muscle memory. You become fluent in other people's weather and illiterate in your own. In plain Jung speak, the psyche recruits you to carry what others won't. The family shadow needs a porter, you're drafted. Sensitivity sharpens to a blade that can split micro moods, but self-reference dulls. You can read a room in seconds and still miss the simplest question, what do I want? This doesn't make you weak, it makes you adaptive. But adaptation has a blind spot. When your radar stays on external storms, you miss the quiet mutiny inside. Hunger, limits, disgust, desire. You negotiate them away. The skill that kept the peace becomes the habit that keeps you absent. This is the setup coded into your nerves, a system built to anticipate, to stabilize, to absorb, beautiful in its precision, dangerous in its loyalty, and without knowing it, you are primed for one archetype in particular, the kind that thrives on being read and fed. Enter the mask that feeds. Opposites don't just attract, they lock. You read subtext like sheet music. They demand to be read like a headline. Your radar meets their mirror and the loop closes. You call it chemistry, it's circuitry. At first it feels luminous. Finally someone gets you. They map your story in minutes, finish lines you didn't voice. Attention floods your system like heat after winter. Certainty arrives. Rare, meant, inevitable. Speed masquerades as safety. It's a spell. Love bombing translated, intensity sold as proof, access posed as intimacy, declarations presented as data. You aren't being known, you're being surveyed for supply. Your secrets become a script they recite back, dazzling, deliberate. Roles assign themselves. You become the container, quiet depth, always open. They take the stage, brilliant, wounded, exceptional. You regulate, they perform. The transfer grows heavier, so slowly you miss the weight. Then the pivot, almost playful, tiny cuts. A joke about how sensitive you are, a correction about how you remembered it wrong, a sigh when you need time. The air thins, you start rationing your breath. Gaslighting drops like a trapdoor. Facts smear. Timelines bend. You find yourself defending scenes you lived. Their reality never negotiates, only yours does. You hunt for the miscommunication. There wasn't one, only leverage. Here's the glue. Intermittent reward, cold then blaze. A hidden button keeps getting pressed and your body chases the next high. Hope becomes a leash, doubt the collar, so you adjust the strategy, understand harder, decode their childhood, translate their silence, blame the swings on stress, fear, not who they really are. If you can map the pattern, you'll be safe. That's the equation your nerves solve at 3 a.m. But the math is rigged. The more you study the mask, the less you feel your face. You edit yourself preemptively. Apologize for weather you didn't make. Your edges blur into air. Love becomes management. This isn't romance, it's collision. A reader and a performer locked in a loop that starves the reader first. And the very skill that saved you is now the snare. Understanding turns too absorbing, and that's the poison. You swallow feelings that aren't yours. Guilt slides down first, then shame like a slow acid. Their accusations land on your skin and seep inward, rebranded as identity. I'm selfish, I'm dramatic, I ruin good things. You repeat it until it sounds like truth. But your mind protests. It remembers tenderness and the bruise under sleeves. It can't hold both, so it splices the film. You keep love in the foreground, shove harm to the margins, edit memory to keep the story watchable. That's cognitive dissonance, devotion and damage sharing a bed, eyes open. Meanwhile, your body runs the emergency script on loop, startle at a footstep, thoughts spin at 3 a.m. Then the crash, numbed out scrolling blank hours, a fog where nothing sticks. Hyper-arousal, then collapse. The nervous system seesaw when safety is rationed. So you make yourself small. The fawn responds, wears a smile and calls it kindness. You pre-apologize. You over-explain. Preferences shrink to suggestions, then vanish. Not to please, exactly, to prevent. It looks generous outside, feels like vanishing inside. Slowly, your mirrors vanish. Friends stop asking because you keep saying you're fine. Hobbies become relics. The world narrows to the radius of their mood. Isolation isn't just social, it's spiritual. You lose witnesses who would have said, this isn't you. In the quiet, a script spins up. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I did provoke it. You become your own attorney, arguing their case against you. A hall of mirrors blooms, Every reflection bends toward their innocence, your blame. That's the cost to intuition. Red flags get relabeled as chances to understand. Your first no translates to try harder. Your body whispers, leave, and you answer, be kinder. What once warned now excuses. What once protected now negotiates. You can carry that poison a long time, until one day the container cracks. A detail won't reconcile, the math won't add, the edit won't pass. The story splits open, light leaks through the seam, then something snaps, the moment the story can't hold. The fall is the doorway. It doesn't feel heroic. It feels like the floor giving way. Sometimes you leave, sometimes you're discarded. Either way, gravity takes the wheel and you drop out of the storyline, out of the trance, into the dark, where names don't stick and time goes weird. Then withdrawal hits, not for the person, for the pattern. Your body paces the cage for the next spike of certainty, the next apology, the next fix. Fingers hover over the message thread like it might breathe. Sleep fractures, food tastes like paper. It's chemical, not cosmic. The loop is starving, and it screams. Grief arrives in layers. You mourn the fantasy first, the promised future that never learned to exist. Then the calendar, birthdays, plans, the map you built in pencil. Under that, the oldest ache, the former you, the one who thought love required erasing edges. Welcome to Negredo, the alchemist's blackening. The identity you wore softens, smokes, collapses. It's not ruin, it's reduction. Heat strips what was borrowed so something denser can precipitate. The mind calls it failure. The psyche calls it phase change. Here's the first reframe. Pain here means the system is reorganizing. Nerves are rethreading, orienting away from the mask toward the chest. The fog is not proof you're lost. It's proof you've stopped outsourcing sight. You test the air with small experiments. A tiny no, a delayed reply, leaving a room when the temperature drops. Each micro boundary hits like oxygen. Lungs remember their job. The ground takes you back. Anger flickers, sacred, bright, not a weapon, fuel, it hums. Not on my watch, and turns outward only as protection, inward as propulsion. You aim it at doors that need shutting and habits that need ending. It's clean. It doesn't scorch, it cauterizes. In the black flashes, a sentence you believe without bargaining, a memory you don't edit, a face you trust, your own, catching your eye in a window and not looking away. Clarity doesn't stay long yet, but it visits. Each time it leaves a mark.